Grab your pre-workout and turn up that volume. It is time for a new episode of the Powerlifter's Den with your host, Cam Smith. What's up, Powerlifter's Den family? Want to rep the podcast and look good while doing it? Check out my official merch store at plden.company.site. We've got tees, hoodies, beanies, hats, and more, and gear that'll keep you motivated in and out of the gym. Every purchase helps support me and the podcast and keeps the den growing strong. So whether you're hitting a heavy squat session or just lounging in style, we've got you covered. Head to plden.company.site and grab your merch today. Listen, I don't have a beard. I've got this glorious mustache. But even this stash deserves elite care. That's where Wicked Wolf Beard Co. comes into play. Their oils and balms keep the face fuzz fresh, soft, and ready for action. No crusty cowboy nonsense here. It smells great, feels great, and makes me look more like I lift heavy things. Beard, mustache, or something in between, Wicked Wolf's got your mug covered. Wicked Wolf Beard Co. Respect the stash. Head on over to Wicked Wolf Beard Co. and use code PLDEN for 25% off your order. Shout out to my guy Bear over at Summit Performance Therapy, the only person I trust to scrape me, needle me, and massage me, and fix my squat at the same time. If your joints sound like microwave popcorn, or you've been limping since Tuesday's deadlifts, Bear's your guy. He knows lifters, he is a lifter, and he's got magic hands, dry needles, and a deep understanding of how to not let your body fall apart. Book a session and tell him the PL Den sent you. Summit Performance Therapy. Reach your summit. Powered by Bear. Literally. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Powerlifter's Den. I'm your host, Cam Smith, and today I wanted to bring on Travis McKinney, a high-level competitor in all facets of sports, but mostly known for some of his totals and multiply. So, Travis, why don't you introduce yourself?
Hey, Travis McKinney here. I'm predominantly I compete in multiply powerlifting. My background has been all walks of powerlifting, but I did get started at a time when it was equipped only. You could go raw if you wanted to, but for the most part, if you went raw, your competition was equipped. So we just learned the equipment back in 2010. Um, I loved equipment. I've always started out on the equipped side, and then I eventually worked into raw powerlifting throughout college. I trained out of a YMCA, and that's what I had to do to make it work. I moved where I am now and got to a gym that had a couple more spotters, a little bit more to accommodate the equip side, and that's when I got into multiply. Learning multiply was kind of a 2020 hobby, actually. It was a bucket list item. I always wanted to do multiply, but it really picked up in 2020. I discovered Westside and Louis Works, um, discovered podcasts. So I got big into podcasts and learning about other people's work and information. I'm not gonna say I developed anything, but I started adopting other people's training styles. And yeah, one thing led to another, and now I'm a competitive multiply power lifter, and I don't have a whole lot of interest in going raw.
Yeah, I
Maybe
mean,
maybe
it's
maybe for
got,
a meet, but
yeah, it's definitely one of those things like once you put those briefs on, it's so hard to go back. But
it's a gateway drug.
for sure. But kind of like backtracking a little bit, I know you're kind of starting to lifting in general, kind of started in middle school, which for some people is like I didn't start till like midway through high school just touching weights. So you got a really early start, and I know you had a little competitive aspect of it. So maybe tell us about that.
Yeah, so I don't know if my mindset is just weird or autistic or something. I have no idea. But back when I was younger, I was big into gaming. I mean, 2004, I started playing RuneScape. 2006, I got into Guild Wars, and like I just sat in the computer. I've always been big into the computers, but I just did a lot of gaming, gained a lot of weight in late elementary school, and that led into middle school where we were finally open to use the weight room. It was the very tail end of sixth grade that we were able to use the weight room. I had a family member who had a squat record, and if I remember right, we had weird weight classes, but it was about I want to say it was 153 pounds was the weight class, and he had the middle school squat record at 240 pounds, and that got broken by a kid that at the time we were not a fan of. We're older, I know who he is. We're older now, and like we kind of made amends, but at 12 years old, we just didn't get along.
Yeah.
He squatted 245, broke the record. And I decided, you know what, if my family member can't have it, then I'm going to try to break it. So at 12 years old, there I am squatting 4 times a week, just trying to build my squat up. And in seventh grade, I squatted that 255, which broke the record by 10 pounds.
Yeah.
Um, and after that, I just never really looked back. I ended up being the strongest kid in our grade, so big fish, small pond kind of syndrome. And everybody else had been playing football since kindergarten. Everybody else already had their sports that they were good at. I didn't because I was a gamer. So I just stuck with lifting. And the more I pursued it, the stronger I got. Uh, it was great. I can't really complain. But
Yeah.
that's how I got started.
Yeah, that's funny. I think like a lot of people backgrounds of powerlifting usually come from like, oh, they started training weights during sports and stuff. But for you, it's a much different reason. It's like you don't expect like you said, the gamer and the grade to be the one that's putting up the most amount of weight. So it's an interesting like kind of dichotomy.
Well, at 12 years old, gaining weight, and I don't know, I guess we could say body image, I guess, a little bit, but at 12 years old, you start getting a little bit of a belly. You're like, I probably shouldn't have a belly at 12 years old. I had to get in shape, and I was not the popular kid in school, so I didn't want to go out and join the team sports, get bullied there too. Didn't want to do that. Eventually, I did end up going for football, but that's a different story.
Yeah.
Lifting is what I enjoyed. I just enjoyed the training aspect of it, and I didn't really care for the team sports.
Yeah.
I didn't have anything against them. It just wasn't my thing.
And as far as kind of with training that early, it might be kind of hard to pinpoint it, but like, how would you say that kind of maybe shaped your mindset with training up till now to where like some people, like I said before, like obviously came from a sports background, like you kind of started early and had like your own development in a different way.
Self-sufficiency. If I wanted to figure something out, I had to do it myself, which meant it was a lot of what was around back then? T Nation, bodybuilding.com. There was, I think, Scooby's Workshop, Scooby Workstat. He was one that was around back then. But it was finding those early fitness influencers. And a lot of them were bodybuilding, weight loss, but it was still interesting. It was still learning. Um, at the time, I was dead set on wanting to make a career out of being a personal trainer. Again, now we're talking 14, 15 years old. Um, and so I just learned as much as I could about that side, about the education side. I felt that I had the squat, bench, and deadlift down pretty well. Again, sophomore in high school, I didn't have it down, but I felt like I did.
Yeah.
Um, I felt that I did. So learning more about weight loss, learning more about maybe bodybuilding, high rep stuff, team sports stuff. I figured if I wanted to be a personal trainer and help other people, I should learn about stuff that I'm not familiar with. So the squats, benches, and deadlifts were I was comfortable with them at the time.
Yeah. And for that, is that something that like you still kind of have that same mindset of like kind of looking into different things and stuff, or do you think you kind of found at this point just like what your recipe is in a way?
I'm very comfortable with what my recipe is. I know what I need. Um, you can always learn how to help others. You can always learn how to help yourself a little bit more. I'm comfortable with my training style and what I know personally, but you can always learn more about how to help others.
For sure. And
Yeah.
you can keep going.
Oh, I mean that was pretty much about it. There's always more to learn. You can always go deeper. You can go deeper into the science, get more into the weeds behind it. Um, but as far as how to take a workout in the gym and convert it to a total, I'm comfortable with that formula personally. Now, if we bring another individual into it, now we start adding nuance to it. But it's less nuance when it's my brain and my body.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the things that kind of attracted me to multiply so much is because there's always something to learn to get you a bigger total. Like you could be the most technical person in the gear, but there's always something that you could change or do, whether it's going a little tighter here or trying a new technique there, that's gonna just work better for you.
Hmm. No, 100%. Again, I got started on the equip side. Um, or my introduction to powerlifting was on the equip side. Obviously, I was working out before I was started competing. Um, I had a little bit of an understanding for single ply. We're talking the Titan Katana, Titan Centurion, the Velocity deadlift suit. That's what I got started with. So I had a good understanding, but then I go into multiply, and it's a whole different ballgame. So in order to learn the multiply side, there's no crews where I was at in my college town. I went to UW Stevens Point in Wisconsin. Very They barely had gyms. I mean, the best gym at the time was the YMCA, and it was very clicky, whether you were a YMCA crowd or an Anytime crowd,
Hmm.
especially on the college campus. Which looking back, it's funny that that was a click, but it was like these mini gym rivalries between commercial gyms.
Yeah.
Um, but going to the multiply side, it's very technical. Without having anybody to teach me, I had to emulate. And so the emulating for squat, for example, and I'll name drop. He knows 100% that I studied him long area while I was on my come up. Um, Derek Wilcox. In my opinion, when I was trying to come up into multiply, in my opinion, Derek Wilcox was the individual who was around my body weight, who had, in my opinion, the perfect form. He was as technically perfect 100% as we can get, and so that's what I wanted. My hips weren't that flexible. I couldn't open up like he could. I couldn't stay upright like he could. Um, the equipment is canvas or very tight polyester. Sometimes you get up to 6 plies. I've heard of people going over 6 plies total.
Yeah, I got
Um,
6 plies on my ass right now with the briefs
yeah,
and
right.
the
I use a 2 ply canvas and 3 ply briefs. I got five, but two of them are canvas.
yeah.
So that equipment is going to be tossing you all over the place. You have to overpower the equipment, but that's not going to happen. If I'm trying to leverage my, I don't know, if I'm trying to leverage my hips, canvas is going to be stronger than my hips 100% of the time.
Yeah.
I have to mold myself to the equipment. The equipment will not mold itself to me. So you look at somebody who has perfect form, they are very technically, borderline perfect. What do? They open their hips, they stay upright, they sit back into the equipment. Their knees are about as vertical as possible. There's very little, if any, forward movement to the knees. Um, you have to have that mobility, and it was very much a learned skill. The mobility that I am able to achieve now did not come naturally. It took about 2 years, but actually it probably took more than that, but a solid 2 years. And you think about these people who are just, they don't even have 2 years into sport and they try to get to that point. I had 2 years of just training my hip mobility.
Yeah, and I think one of the things I forget who told me this, but I love to emulate it and like kind of reciprocate it is like you need to adapt to the gear. Don't make the gear adapt to you because that's how you get the most out of the gear. If you're trying to like loosen it up or just like having it on to the point where you're just trying to go back to like a raw pattern per se, especially in like obviously squat is way different of a movement. Like you're not going to get anything out of the gear that you need to.
No, no, equipped and raw powerlifting are two different sports.
Hmm.
Now, it's like taking it's like taking IndyCar and NASCAR.
Yep,
Yeah, you're still driving a car, but they're not the same sport.
exactly. And I think the one of the cool things too is like you said, like you can look at all these top level lifters like you did with Derek and I've done with other people to try to like see what works. And once you find out like, oh, okay, maybe he's built like me, so maybe I should try doing it like this way. Like I'm kind of the opposite of you in the hip mobility. Like I have super hyper mobile hips that I needed to I just figured this out not that long ago. Instead of being like pointed toes out, I go very square and I go like not super wide because if I do, I open up all the way and I'm fully externally rotated at like 3 inches above parallel, so I can't sit back anymore, and then I get
Yep.
jammed up. So now I'm learning to like internally rotate, not like be like duck footed, but more square to where I can actually have something to push against out in the bottom rather than just continuously opening up.
And that's huge to identify. What I try to tell people is you want your, and again, there's going to be limitations. Don't go too extreme with this, but you want your toes to be about as far on the squat, as far forward as possible while still maintaining the ability to open up your knees. Now,
Hmm.
obviously, the more you open up your feet, the more your knees are going to track outward. You still want your knees to track over your feet. You don't want them to deviate too much. You still want your knees to track over your feet, but or in the direction of your feet rather, not over them, but the same direction. But you still want your toes to be somewhat canted forward so that you can press out against your glutes.
Yeah.
If you open up too much, well, you're kind of taking the glutes completely out of the equation. You still want some there.
And for me, I kind of found almost the opposite with deadlift. I think with for me, what I figured out with deadlift is being so externally rotated and using your glutes as more external rotators and like I guess like a hip thrust per se. It
Mhm.
it allows me to just get into such a good position. And so like if you look at my deadlift stance, it's super wide, super toes out, and I just have insane hip mobility that allows me to get in positions that just works.
Whatever works for you. Um, I'll say I probably keep my toes a little further out on deadlift than I do on squats.
Yeah,
Um,
so we can kind of dive into a little bit about some of the meets you've done. Obviously, you've competed at some of the big meets and the WPO and have been able to have some success there. Obviously, it's for the since you when was your first WPO?
2022, I believe I believe it was in Orlando, and WPC Worlds was a couple days prior, or the days leading up to it.
Yeah, so let's start with that one and kind of tell us about that first experience, maybe just overall experience and maybe how some of the differences between maybe a meet that you've done before.
So I mean, the first one, it was definitely a different experience because they had Worlds attached to the WPO. That I don't, bel- Yeah, no, they haven't done that since. It's just been this just straight WPO. Um, for those who are at that meet or those familiar with that meet, it was a very interesting one. There was an individual who ended up getting injured during squats, and that paused the meet for about an hour and a half. So between second and third squats, I
Oh,
had actually
I think I've heard the story. Yeah.
yeah, I had actually missed my second squat. I got my opener. I'd have to go back and look at the numbers. I want to say I opened with like a 970, but I don't remember. I have to go back and double check. My second attempt was 1058, and I think my knees shot forward and I just lost it in the hole. Like I didn't even pop up. It just hit the hole and just shook my head. Nope, take it.
Yeah.
Um, and then the second or third lifter in two thirds ended up missing. Ended up missing. He got injured. They had to take him. I believe they took him out on a stretcher and everything. It paused the meet for about an hour and a half. So there's all of us sitting in our equipment. Just what do we do? Like the meet's not going on. What do we do? Um, I I was one of the few. I did make my third squat, that 1058. So I did get it on my third, and I believe that was a WPO record, or it might have tied the record. Um, but yeah, that was a weird one. Just sat in the gear for an hour and a half before your thirds. I want to say most people did end up missing their thirds if they even took it. A lot of people didn't even take it, but there'd be a lot of us just in the warm up room, straps down, just knocking out singles or doubles with 500 pounds every 15 minutes.
Yeah. I was gonna say if this say this situation happened again, maybe what do you think or like what would your approach be maybe now? Would you do the same thing you did before? Like deal obviously at meets there's a ton of different things that can happen, but like this is an uncommon thing. So if you were to be like put in that same situation again, would you change anything about what you did?
I mean, the smart answer would be no because I still got my third.
Yeah.
Um, but with any situation like that, where any situation where it's weird and there is that high injury risk, you always have to double check. You always have to ask yourself, is it worth it?
Yeah.
And since I had missed it on my second attempt, if I made it on my second attempt, I probably would have just gotten out of the equipment and called it good.
Yeah.
But I was not willing. What would that be? 970 to 1058. That would have been something like a 90-pound jump, 88-pound jump. That was too big of a gamble on the total. Yeah, no, I wanted to take the chance. I wanted to get it. Now, thankfully, it worked out in my favor.
Yeah.
But having to do it again, I would definitely double check. Is it worth it? Is the injury risk worth the gain on the total? First of all, um, how do you use your bathroom breaks? Do you take bathroom breaks, or do you just sit in it for an hour and a half? Like,
Yeah.
not hopefully you don't go in your equipment, but do you just hold it for an hour and a half? Um, yeah, I don't know.
That's
That,
what
that
that
that's a big one.
Yeah, and that honestly, one of the things I do love about so the briefs that I pull in are just like pair of they're metal jacks or aces or one of the two, but they're loose, and I'm like, honestly, I love them because I can get out of them and go to the bathroom if I need to. But if I'm in my 5-ply F8s, like I'm fucked. I gotta stay in those things till we're done squatting.
And so for me, it's more of the suit. It's more of the canvas
Yeah,
that I can't manipulate that. I'm sorry, but like even rolling it down, that thing gets miserable and it bunches up. But my briefs, they have a little bit of a give, and he just got a new black line material, but Rudy's last generation black line, it was pretty stretchy. There's a lot of pops, there's a lot of carryover to it, but it's pretty stretchy. So I could roll it down, and I mean, I could roll it down and then just pee up over top and be fine. but no, with the squat suit, I can't do that. I think actually in the first WPO, I think I actually ended up just holding it for an hour and a half, and that was miserable. I definitely had to pee when I was done.
Yeah, and so as far as your gear setup, obviously you wear a lot of overkill stuff. What kind of maybe take us through the journey of kind of finding the right gear because that's a journey that every multiply person goes through.
So I will have a much more nuanced answer if if an individual reaches out to me and asks, "Hey, what equipment should I get?" I'll have a very nuanced answer. Longer arms, you might want something more stretchy, and then there's certain brands that are stretchier than other brands. Um, if you have a big belly, if you have a big belly, maybe you can get a little bit of a tighter equipment. My journey my journey, I started out single ply, obviously. So it's not like I didn't have a gear background, but I didn't have a multiply background when I got into multiply.
Yeah.
Um, I just started asking around, and one of the first suggestion that I got was to take Titan briefs with an LUP.
Yeah,
I'm
I
like,
feel like
okay,
that's like the classic setup. I feel like a lot of people go with that even today.
yeah. And so I did it, and it was fine. The Titan Boss briefs that I had, and I've been told that they're better now. I'm told that they're different, but the pair that I had would stretch out first time use, and the Boss line was not supposed to do that. I was told that the pair that I have is actually defective, but that's my only experience, so that's what I had to work with. It functioned very similarly to their single ply lines, their Centurion. Um, Centurion or katanas will stretch out immediately. Whenever you take it out of the package, it will not be the same your second use, and it won't be the same the third use, so on and so forth, until it gets to the point of its maximum stretch, and then it'll pretty much stay there forever. I never got to that point with my boss briefs. They just kept stretching. For example, the first time I ever put them on, it was either 750 or 775 that I squatted, and we're talking 2017. It was my very first time ever using them. By the time I got done with a meet prep, I had actually cut the straps off of a single ply Centurion. I had don't tell the meet director. I had a single ply Centurion underneath my double ply boss, underneath my LUP, and I actually got buried in the hole with an 850 squat when I was training with right about 900.
Yeah. Yeah. So like that's a I think that's one of the bigger differences. But if you were to like kind of compare single ply and multiply, like everyone in single ply, they basically get a new gear for everything, every prep because of like you said, it stretches out quick. But like
Yep.
multiply, like an LUP, like a canvas, things like that. Like if I can take my LUP to the grave, like I'm not buying another suit ever. There's no reason to.
Yeah, and the LUP is a very solid suit. It's very good. I'd probably say it's a great jack of all trades. If you need just one suit for everything, the LUP is not bad. I'll be honest. I I still have one that I let people borrow if they ever want to get into equipment.
Mhm.
Now, obviously, I have my overkill canvas and it's fitted for me, so I don't need my LUP. Um, but I have a mini library of equipment downstairs. I have about 3 or 4 different totes of gear, single ply, multiply, stuff from high schools, all over. That if somebody needs equipment, just reach out to me and I'll send them stuff. Just give it back when you're done. Don't steal it.
Yeah, and honestly, that kind of did a little segue to like the community aspect of powerlifting. I think like that's one of the cool things is like if you're looking for gear, like you can almost always find someone that's either gonna just give you something or sell it for super cheap. Like even on the Facebook groups and stuff, like yeah, people try to flip some stuff and whatever, but like half the gear I got, I've either gotten for a really good price or just given to me.
Yeah, yeah. I definitely have a couple pieces of equipment that were given to me. I have some really old, really unique pieces of equipment that just were laying in somebody's tote and they said, I don't need it. I don't want it. I'm probably going to throw it away. And they just gave it to me and now it's sitting in my tote, but I have an appreciation for it. Um, one of those pieces being, I have two Franz, two Franz squat suits, but they were like I would assume like Gen 1 Franz.
Oh wow.
I mean, we're talking like stretchy singlet kind of material,
Yeah.
but it's advertised as a squat suit. Um, I have, if anybody remembers this, I have the brand APT Pro wrist straps. They made a bench shirt. Now, a lot of people know their knee wraps, they're convicts or strangulators. A lot of people know their knee wraps. Not a lot of people know that they had poly equipment. I have one of their bench shirts, and I don't know if anybody ever actually used that shirt. It is just it's not plausible that anybody could make that shirt work. The chest plate. So the arms on the shirt that I have are probably about 2 inches bigger than my arms. I cannot fit into it at all. I can't even get it tight. But the chest plate, I mean, we're talking like 4 inches.
Yeah.
So it's made for somebody bigger than me with a chest plate that's about 3 inches smaller than my overkill.
Yeah, basically built for someone built like Popeye.
I mean, actually though, yeah. It makes no sense. I don't know if I've never actually seen somebody use an APT bench shirt, but I have one.
Yeah, I think the one of the coolest like progressions of history is just the bench shirts and powerlifting, like what you started with, like the what was it not the Rage, was it the Rage X? No, the blast shirt. Like you had the
Oh yeah.
blast shirt, you had the denim, and now you got these band 5-ply band shirts and all these crazy things. Like the amount of like variety in just bench shirts and like seeing that all these different shirts work for different people in different ways, it's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. The progression of the sport is fascinating. I love it. I love the progression. Um, and I was probably one of the first ones to hate on band shirts back when they first came out. I mean, I love poly. Poly is what I like, but really the reason I was hating on them is because the federation presidents and meet directors were putting unlimited with the multiply.
Yeah,
That was what I didn't like.
yeah.
But I don't really care about band shirts. I mean, by all means, go ahead and use them. Now that they're in a different category, by all means, it's expanding powerlifting, just bringing more people into it, or it's keeping people for longer at a bare minimum. Go ahead and use them.
Yeah, and I feel like I share a very similar opinion. I think one of the things that's in my mind, which maybe changes in the future, because I like to try to keep a fluid opinion in general, but I almost think it's like you need to kind of earn the right to use it. Like everyone
Yep.
knows how hard poly is, and it's like all right, once you can kind of go through that ring of fire of like figuring out a poly shirt, then cool, go have fun in the band shirt kind of thing.
Yep. Nope. 100%. And there's a very high likelihood, very good chance that I will throw on a band shirt at some point in time and do a bench only meet. I don't know if I'll ever want to do a 3 lift meet in a band shirt with a band shirt. Um, But yeah, I'll probably do a bench only one at some point. I got to get a band shirt first, but
Yeah,
I'll probably try it.
yeah, and then kind of as far as equipment goes, but like kind of shifting directions. I know you kind of have um new interest in kind of the home gym industry and kind of that side of the industry. So it's kind of we'll dive into that. I know you like to kind of support some small businesses and have a few different ones to talk about, but what kind of got you into that to begin with?
Um, well, what got me into home gyms was in 27. So 2017 was a big year just in general for me. Um, 2017 was when I first started getting interested in equipment again. Because again, I had taken a break. I had done raw lifting throughout early college. Um, but then my raw numbers were getting to the point where I'm like, if I just put on a little bit of equipment, I can qualify for the Arnold. And I qualified with I mean, I did end up qualifying for the XPC Arnold. See, I had a 2-ply metal jack suit with no briefs. I had a single ply katana, and I had my old Centurion squat suit from high school that I deadlifted in. And I don't remember, it was like a 1980 total or something. I had a 2-ply squat suit, so technically it was a multi-ply total. Um, but yeah, I what got me into the home gyms was I realized that hey, I probably could actually go somewhere in the equip side of powerlifting again, and I really wanted to get back into it, but I wasn't going to do it at the Stevens Point area YMCA. Um, Side tangent: the YMCA is one of the few gyms that had a lat pull down machine up to 315 pounds, and it was so great using that machine. Um, I have not been able to do heavy pull downs since I left the YMCA.
Hmm.
Um, but no, so I wanted to get back into the equip side, and I decided if I'm going to do it, the commercial gyms don't have the equipment that I need, so I need to just lift by myself. I just need to lift in my basement. I need to figure it out. Well, getting into the suit again, I started with a Titan Boss and an LUP. I'd be squatting downstairs in my basement with just some random study buddy from chemistry class who'd be there lacing up my LUP. I would tell him exactly what to do, and he'd be sitting there in the background just studying along while I'm trying to squat 800 pounds. Um, but yeah, like I would bring a chair downstairs, I would bring a table for him, and he would just do his homework and his studying and while helping me lace up my LUP. And he goes, "Well, do you want any spots? Do you need anything?" And I straight up told him, without having 5 people, and I'm not gonna find 5 college kids to come over into my small basement every, couple times a week. Without having access to that number of spotters, it is more dangerous for you to try to save the weight. Just let me dump it. Just
Yeah,
I'll set the safety racks up, just let me dump it.
and it's
And I did have to do that a couple times.
yeah, and it's kind of interesting. It's like one of those like all or nothing. Like you're definitely correct in that thought. It's like one spotter is not going to be able to help you pick up 800, especially if you're in gear where it's like a technical error and you just have to kind of let it go. But when you have like those 9 people with the call and the depth, running the mono and all that, like it's so different. But that like in between area just doesn't work.
No, it really doesn't work. It's putting the spotter in danger, and I'm willing to put myself in danger. I'm not willing to do that for somebody else. It's not them. It's not their responsibility to get hurt on my behalf.
Yeah,
Um, but yeah, so what got me into home gyms was trying to learn the equip side. I had to get my own equipment, which meant I started training at home. So I didn't have the crews. I didn't have all those training partners. Granted, I didn't have them at the YMCA in the first place. Um, but then I moved to where I'm at now. I'm over in Appleton. I moved to where I'm at now, and the public gyms over here are a little bit more powerlifter friendly, a little bit. And so yeah, I was able to take some of the stuff from my home gym, bring it into the public gyms, and then I had access to spotters, and it was a little bit safer. Then I could really start learning multiply. I did so again, backtracking. In 2017, I made a total at the Arnold. I think it was 2070 if I remember right. Um, at 198. 2018 is when the boss briefs like really stretched out on me, and I bombed out. I missed all 3 squats in the hole. I didn't get any pop out of the hole. Just it wasn't even a form issue. My form stayed good. Had good posture. It was just straight up. I just missed it in the hole every single time. So bombed out in 2018. That led me back to the path of I really can't do this with like completely by myself. So I really do need to just go back to raw. So I went back to raw for probably 2 years. Um, Built up a raw total. I don't know 2020, the COVID Classic Arnold totaled 1855 if I remember right. I had actually just missed weight, so I weighed in at 223. Um, it was my first 242 meet. Um, got a raw total there. Then that allowed me to get back into the equip side. So now trying to figure out which equipment should I use, what is good for me. All of the equipment that I had didn't really fit. Um, I mean, I knew about Overkill. I knew about Overkill back in like 2011. Because that was the prestigious brand that you had to know a guy who knew a guy who could maybe get you an email address that you could talk to.
yeah,
That's all I knew. Um, Now it's a little bit easier to get your hands on Overkill equipment, but the exposure that I had, it was not that easy. Like if you weren't Ryan Canelli, you probably didn't have it. Um, which, yeah. So that was the first company that I looked into, and I had reached out to Rudy. I had messaged him. We had gone back and forth for a couple of months, and he explained to me how his gear worked. I said, I don't have a crazy amount of money. I'm looking for a one-time purchase. If I need to size it down, then I can size it down, let it stretch, and then just have it sit there. And he goes, nope, our equipment shouldn't stretch out on you. It should be good to go. And so I purchased my first set of overkill gear. I think it was a pair of briefs. I had already had a bench shirt off Facebook Market that was about my measurements, but I had bought a pair of briefs. Worked out great. I had an old, it's probably a Velocity if I remember right, but it was an old deadlift suit that I had. I ended up, oh, and then I had the LUP as well. How I, g- well, I'll backtrack even further. Tangents. With the LUP, I had trying to learn multiply. I had spent a week down at Pacifico Training Systems or Power Systems in Dayton with Jimmy Pacifico, and again, we're talking 2017 back at this time. But I had trained with Jimmy for about a week, and Jimmy sold me a bunch of equipment. So I got the LUP, I got an SDP, a couple knee wraps. I don't remember all that I got, but I do know that it was kind of my first starter set. The SDP was way too big. I had to roll the sleeves in 3 different times just to get a little bit of tension on across the bicep. Real small arms.
yeah.
Um, I had to roll the shirt in, Then I could get a little bit of pop, but I got almost as much out of my katana as I did the SDP.
Oh wow.
Yep. Then fast forward, contact overkill. I buy my first piece of overkill equipment, still using the LUP and all that stuff. Um, I didn't get brought on to overkill like as a sponsored athlete until APF Nationals in 2022, and I believe in 2021 I had a 24:36 total at one of the Twin Cities meets, and then at APF Nationals I went 4 for 9 and had a 24:08 total. So 8 for 9, 24:36, and then 4 for 9, 24:08, and that was good enough to get me best lifter. I want to say I had the second highest total of the meet behind. It was a super heavy weight that had a bigger difference in our body weight than in our total. Um, After I got best lifter at 2022 APF Nationals, that was when Rudy gave me the offer and said, "I'll help you out. I'll deck you out with equipment. Just represent our name."
Yeah, and
And I said, "Sure." I accepted.
yeah, kind of not necessarily backtracking, but kind of like an overall picture, I guess. Early on, kind of when you started getting into gear, how come you? What? Why did you approach it as I want to try to be self sufficient rather than trying to like search for a crew?
Because I was in college and I didn't have the luxury to move. So if I wanted to make it work, I had to make it work with the resources I had, and people were not a resource, or at least power lifters were not a resource.
Yeah, and do you
Yeah.
think that kind of now to where you are now, where you get to actually work with people, do you think, um, like looking back, would you have um, gone that route again if you knew there was a crew there, or do you think you would have started in a crew and kind of worked through them?
I mean, if I had the ability to start with a crew 100%, like I'm never going to recommend somebody to do it by themselves.
Yeah,
I'm never going to recommend somebody to try to be self-sufficient. Um, Within reason. I mean, it's always good to be self-sufficient. It's always good to learn that skill. But if you have the ability to have a crew, 100% drive the extra 20, 30 minutes, go to the crew. Um, but no, I just did what I had to do. Even backtracking even further, back in high school when I got started, there were people at the community gym that I was at who did have a background in equipped lifting. Ironically enough, we just happened to have a WPC world champion that trained at our gym. Just happened to. Um, he got me started. He showed me the reins in the very beginning, my freshman and sophomore year of high school. But they moved and went somewhere else. They had moved. So to continue powerlifting in high school, I was still by myself. We didn't have a high school team. Other schools did, but we did not have a high school team. So I'd be there wrapping my own knees, walking my own squats out in the middle of a power rack. Um, didn't have a combo rack or anything. Personally, I don't think it matters. I actually prefer the cages.
yeah.
But even back in high school, we didn't have a team. I had a coach for about a year and a half, and that was about it.
Yeah, and I think one of the luxuries we have now, even just in the country as a whole in the sport, is there's a lot more crews, but especially around here in New England, we have so many gyms and so many like multiply crews now that like if you want to start multiply and you live in New England, like you got so many options.
That really is the central hub. It used to be Ohio, but now it really is New England.
Yeah. It,
And Florida's growing up too, but if you think about it, at least that I know of, Florida's only got 3 or 4, and
yeah.
they're kinda spread out. So, it really is New England.
Yeah, and I think it's really cool, and that's what and obviously there's more to it and the fact that we get to like train at other gyms and stuff. We get to go and we get to learn things. So like that's why I always tell like when you come from the raw world of like just do it yourself, go to the gym, throw your headphones on and stuff. It's like I don't care if you're not in gear, but like if you can get into a crew of mostly multiply guys, you're gonna learn so much more than you ever would by just watching fucking YouTube videos all day.
Mhm. No, absolutely. And so I mean, again, where we're at, if I want spotters, I'm the only multiply lifter here. If I want spotters, I'm not going to a multiply lifter because they don't exist. I I have to go to whatever random gym goer is there. I've been into the strongman scene a little bit, or just the strongman training. I haven't actually done a show not since I was 16. But the strongman crew, they're very professional, very friendly. Um, if I want spotters, I go ask them, or I can ask them. I at least have the luxury to ask them.
Yeah.
But I've also built up a solid friend group it's difficult making friends in your 30s, your late 20s. But we've built up a solid enough friend group that I have a couple of people that I can just call up, and we can at least coordinate times for them to come over. Some of them have kids, and we just coordinate what to do with the child at that time. Somebody's got to babysit while I'm lifting. It works.
Yeah.
We're able to make it work. I don't have the only thing I don't have is somebody else watching me, but I have video footage and I can review my own footage. As long as I have spotters, I can make it work.
Yeah, and the safety the it's not necessarily the safety aspect, but more the trust aspect of, like, when you have those people there, like, you'll take attempts that maybe you wouldn't take when there's only a few guys, or you'll even just have more confidence under the bar that you wouldn't have with a few people too.
hmm No, absolutely. And at least with squats, one of the difficult things with squats is you might have on the equip side, you might have a weight that moves very easily. It flows, it just moves. And it feels like that might be like a 90%. It feels like you have a little bit more in the tank. So you toss on 50, 60 more pounds, but even though that weight moved great, you might have only had 20 pounds left in the tank, and then all of a sudden you get buried at the next jump. Like the way the bar speed moved, you should have been able to do more. It looked like you could have done more, but it's just not there.
Yeah.
So that's a very scary gamble, not using spotters.
Yeah, and
Um,
especially with the weights too, like, you're making a 5% jump, but, like, if you're 1,000, 1,200 pound squatter, like, that's still a huge weight jump no matter
mhm.
what. It doesn't mess Yeah, it might be, like, a low percentage, but the difference between, like, what's gonna kill you and what's gonna, like, throw you off, like, it's still a big jump.
A 5% spread at those numbers is more than people's entire meat jumps.
Yeah.
At lower percentages.
Yeah.
You can take a 60, 70 pound jump, but I mean, I see a lot of people that might make a 30-pound jump throughout a meet between their 3 attempts.
Yeah, it's like you see some raw lifters, like, we'll just say bench just because it's
Yep.
usually lower jumps, but they'll make 5, 10 pound jumps, and we're doing, like, these variations. We're like, "Oh, I can only make, like, a 20 pound jump here, so it's not worth it." It's such a funny, like, perspective to look at.
It is, but at least on the equip side, it absolutely makes sense.
Yeah.
If you're a 1,000-pound squatter and the mindset is, well, I'm within 20 pounds, I'm good to go. You probably just avoided an injury, or at least potentially avoided an injury by not taking that one more set.
Mhm.
Like, absolutely, 20 pounds, close enough. But if your bench is 100 pounds, maybe you're making 10-pound jumps, 20 pounds worth of jumps throughout that meet.
Yeah, and it's kind of funny too, because, like, obviously missing weight is very taxing, and especially multiply. And, like, I've had some bouts. Actually, the last prep I did, I'm pretty sure I missed, like, a squat almost every single week, and it ended up working out pretty well. But this is kind of a segue into one of I think it was your 2024 WPO prep. The squats didn't really go so well, so maybe tell us about that.
Yeah, and actually, after having a conversation yesterday, I don't remember if it was 2023 or 2024. I think I had told you ahead of time 2024. I don't remember. I'd have
Okay.
to go back and look.
Yeah.
But I had put on a little bit of weight in the off season, and I didn't feel like I was that much bigger. I felt normal, but I had put on about 2 inches on my legs. And so I go for my heavy squats, and I normally take 3 heavy squats throughout a prep, and had missed every single one of them. I had missed every single squat to include I had a 1080 that flew up like an opener, and then the next jump, which based on my calculations, the way I do my training, I would have been projected, give or take, about 1160 at my absolute 100% top end max under best conditions.
Hmm.
Not meet day conditions, best conditions in the gym,
Yeah.
somewhere around 1160. So I chose to take 1150 in the gym. Well, and again, there's more backstory to it. The more backstory, but bottom line, I ended up missing it. I ended up missing the 1150. I had missed every single top end squat throughout that prep. And I had messaged Rudy right after the last one, which admitted I didn't realize what the issue was, but admittedly it was too late to message.
Hmm.
I was about 3 weeks out from the meet when I took my last heavy one, and we come to find out, my legs were measured at a certain measurement. They had grown 2 inches, so we had it tailored, but he had already taken it out once. So he had to cut the legs open, sew on a second piece of material that's not standard. He had to sew material into the material to expand the legs. Um, I had never used the squat suit. I had already done my last squat day. I had never used the squat suit. I slipped it on over my clothes and said, "All right, cool, feels good enough. It's tight, whatever, good enough."
Yeah.
Um, Go to the WPO, and I forget which year it was, but if it was 2023, then I made the 1113, and if it was last year, I made the 1124. But regardless, I had missed every heavy squat that training prep. I had sent the suit in to get tailored. I had never used it before the platform. Tossed it on, first time use on the platform, and it still worked. It was successful.
Yeah, the
So
very west side of you to throw on some equipment day one. That's kind of like I've heard so many stories about like I forget. I think it was actually Wilcox. It might have been Wilcox. I forget who it was, but someone was telling me like they. Oh no, Sean Franco. Like Panora came up to him and me. He's like, I just got this squat suit like 2 days ago. Let's see how it works.
I mean, again, I'm not saying it's ideal, but you got to do what you got to do.
Exactly.
What am I going to do? Not go on the platform? Like,
Yeah.
no, I'm going to toss a suit on and do the best I can.
Yeah.
It just happened to work.
And as far as WPOs, how many have you done?
That was I did my third one. This year, 2025 will be my fourth.
And what did you place in each of them?
I got second, behind the man each time.
All three? Yeah. So
Yep.
that's kind of what I want to talk a little bit about. Obviously, like, um, in my opinion, just getting second place at the WPO is basically like winning. But I'm assuming that like obviously you have that goal, you want to get him at one point. So what's that kind of not necessarily a rivalry, but like trying to compete against him? What's that been like?
He's off social media. It's not like we talk to each other. I mean, I don't have a whole lot of conversation to him with Hoff. I mean, we're talking about Hoff.
Yeah.
So I don't have a whole lot of conversation with him. I've never really talked to him. I think we exchanged a couple of words this last year at the WPO. I had the utmost respect for him. I mean, he's the guy. He's been there, done that. And let's say by happen chance, let's say I do end up winning. Let's say he takes second and I win one year. Cool. That happened that day on the platform. At no point am I going to think that I'm a better lifter than he is. He's the one who's been there, done that. He's the guy. Um, it is a big numbers game, but at the same time, if I take second place to anybody, I'm glad it's him.
Yeah. For sure.
He's a good one to take second place to. I don't take it personally by any means.
Yeah. Do you know what out of the three that you've done, what has been the closest margin?
This last one by a long shot. Um, it was definitely this last one. This I did. Admittedly, I don't really remember his numbers. I think he squatted 1278 because I thought he did a 5 pound chip PR, 5 pound PR for his squat. I want to say he missed his third bench. Actually, our meet went very similar. Like we both made almost the same attempts and then missed the same attempts. I want to say he got one bench at 975, unless he got two at 975, and then finishing at 975, and his deadlift I want to say was like 771. It ended up being like a 2950 or 2970 total, somewhere in that ballpark.
Mm-hmm.
I had my 1124 squat. I broke the record by another 5 kilos. Went on to bench, opened at 793. I believe my PR was 782, and so I just wanted to bump it up a little bit. Bench has been in a meet. Bench has kind of been a struggle for me. It goes great in training, but then in a meet, I keep going like 1 for 3, and so every time, and my bench has blown up since I've gone 3 for 3. So every time I do a meet, I just open up at a 2.5 kilo PR. I'm like, if I'm gonna make something, I'm gonna at least get a PR out of it.
Yeah.
So my PRs have been my openers. Um, Opened up at 793. I had missed it for a technical. I think the bar dipped up and down. I bumped up to 804. The mindset was, if for some reason I'm going to bomb out of this meet, I'm not going to do it with less than 800 pounds.
Yeah.
So bumped up to 804. I made it on my second. And the goal walking in that day, the goal was 881. I had pressed 885 in the gym, and it moved. I mean, it moved solid. I can't complain with how it moved. The record was 875. That's Sean Frankel's record.
Mm-hmm.
And so I came there for the record. My 881 was about as close to making it without actually making it as possible. And I mean, I've analyzed that video 12 different ways
Yeah.
at least. Um, it was about as close to making it without actually making it as possible. Had I done like an 854 or an 865, it might have been a different day. And then deadlift, um, I got my 716 opener. Oh, I missed the opener. I think it slipped out of my hands or I fell backwards or something. Um, Second attempt, 716 again, made it. And then I was gonna jump up. Yeah, we ended up calling 799. We were going back and forth between getting the record or beating Hoff. And it's like, well, if we happen to pull the 799 and just barely chip Hoff's Glossbrenner, we just made 2 grand.
Yeah.
So it was like 10 pounds for 2 grand.
Yeah.
So like, yeah, let's see what happens. I pulled it above the knees before it slipped out, but it was like right there next to the lockout. Um, had I played the benches differently, the day could have been slightly different. And the only reason I say that, so the rebuttal is going to be, well, Hoff can always pull more. The rebuttal that I have to that is very possibly, I fully understand he's capable of pulling about 850 on a good day.
Hmm.
Fully understand that. He had ripped his callus. He had like ripped his callus up into his hand
Oh,
on
geez.
his second deadlift. He was not taking a third. So and the officials there were not letting him tape up his hand.
Oh, wow.
So it was just like exposed blood, exposed hand, or I'm assuming it was exposed blood, but it was exposed hand, incredibly painful. He skipped his third deadlift. Had I played the bench differently, that would have set me up for like a 740 deadlift or something like that. I never played those numbers, but ballpark 740, 760 maybe to pull for the win. That would have been doable. Um, but I was there for the record. So I don't I still stand by my decision. I don't have any regrets about it. I was there for 881 and it just wasn't there on the day.
Yeah.
It was there in training, but not in the day.
Yeah. And I know you got the WPO coming up in a couple months. Maybe what's your kind of game plan for that, your kind of approach, and what are some of the things that you hope to achieve there?
Um, I haven't thought too much about it. Probably not the right answer. Um, I Over all the years of doing this, I've trained a very similar way for a long time. And now there are some imbalances that have started to catch up.
Hmm.
And so I spent the last couple of months, last many months, remedying that. And so now we're finally getting to the point. I mean, you've on my training, you guys have probably seen I've been doing a lot of front squats. I've been doing a lot more strongman style mobility stuff. There's a lot of stuff that I don't record because I just don't like social media. I don't like posting.
Yeah.
There's a lot of stuff that doesn't get recorded, but I've been doing a ton to try to remedy those imbalances. So now we're finally getting back to the point where it's time to start throwing gear on. I've just did relentless, just did a bench only meet, so that's been keeping me in the swing of the bench shirt. Always learn more stuff about the shirt every time I use it. As long as I've been doing it, I'd like to assume I've been somewhat successful with it. But for as long as I've been doing it, I'm always still learning. There's still more to pick up. Um, but as far as this training goes, I'm still within. We're still far enough out. I'm still within my normal training block or meet prep. So I'm not too crazy worried about it. But it is time to start ramping training up on the equip side.
Yeah, and I think this year it's WPO. Obviously, it's got some good competition and stuff, and it should be interesting to see. Obviously, it's at York this year, which is a different scenery than in previous years. So,
Yep.
and I think just kind of with the shifting of the sports and just obviously the federation and stuff, but we don't need to get into that drama because it's honestly not quite worth talking about. But
It's not.
but I think it should be interesting to just see kind of what happens at the WPO this year. I think, like I said, it'd be interesting to see like kind of with some more competition and stuff like that, maybe what it'll push Hoff to do or what you can kind of pull out and things like that. So I think like I said, I'm very excited to see kind of what happens.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not worried for Hoff. I think Hoff still has it in the bag. I don't care who we're talking about. You pull anybody out of the woodwork. Pull anybody out of the current line of competitors in multiply. Hoff is still number one. Like it doesn't matter who we're bringing out. Hoff is still has the ability to crush everybody on his second attempts. Um, Me on the other hand, yeah, there's a couple people that I'm looking out for. I'd have to double check. I'd have to double check the roster. I think Phil Herndon
Yep.
was signing up.
Yep.
He's one that obviously you got to be on the radar for. You got to be on the lookout for. Um, if he can put together a good meet, then yeah, he's going to be a force. Like he's a 1,200-pound squatter and an 800-pound deadlifter.
Yeah.
Um, and his raw bench is in the low fives, so you really don't overlook him.
Yeah, and I think
Um,
that's like it's like someone like him and someone like you, like I said, I agree. I think Hoff still got it. I think he can be the one. I think what I'm more wanting to see is like you guys being able to push him to maybe have him set a new total that like is basically going to be untouchable. Like kind of get him to not have to like make him go 8 for 9, make him go 9 for 9 to like see what he can really do.
yeah, I mean, he did that. I believe the 3103 he did on an 8 for 8 day, or maybe it was a 7 for 7 day.
Yeah.
But he doesn't often take 9 attempts. But a couple of his good 3,000 plus totals were on 7 for 7 or 8 for 8 days. Now, we do have to bring into the conversation. Yeah, he's a little bit older, but does that affect his total? With him, I don't know.
Yeah.
Now, it might affect the longevity. Maybe he doesn't have 10 more years. Maybe he has 1 or 2 more years. But is he as good? He might not be as good. He might not be as good as he's as good at. I don't remember what the phrase. He's as good. He's as good once as he ever was.
Yeah.
I forget the phrase.
But like I mean at the
He's as
same
good
time
once as
like
he ever was.
yeah, you look at like Donnie Thompson, like he set the 3,000 total at 47. Like who knows? Like who knows what he could be pushed to do when he has someone like riding his ass.
Yeah, and I honestly don't know enough about Donnie's upbringing, about his longevity in the sport. I know he did college football and then found powerlifting a little bit later, whereas Dave started earlier.
Yeah.
So if we talk about the cumulative years, Dave at 37 might be the same as Thompson at 47. If
Yeah.
we're talking about cumulative competitive years at that high level, um, I don't know. Yeah, I don't really know.
But kind of backtracking a little bit, I think this can kind of be one of our final topics of relentless. Obviously, it's uh, a competition that's been around for a little bit, and it's something that's great for the sport. So maybe tell us about kind of your experience with relentless.
Relentless was a great experience. I have nothing bad to say about it. It is absolutely a green flag on the sport of powerlifting, and if people haven't been there, at least go and watch it at bare minimum. Um, if you can't do that, at least donate to people's fundraisers whenever it comes along. It's so Relentless, for if anybody's unfamiliar, Relentless is a powerlifting meet that all the proceeds get donated towards the Hope Kids Foundation, which is a nonprofit that provides funding for families of kids who have a terminal illness. Um, we elected, so my girlfriend and I, we elected to have a sponsor child, and shortly after weigh-ins, we went and met the family. We met the sponsor child. He's I'll maintain respect for their privacy, but he was a 6-year old boy who had leukemia.
Hmm.
Now, the medications that he was on gave him a lot of energy, so it was actually kind of cool to see that he was up and running around and being a normal kid.
Yeah.
He was not bedridden like our preconceived conceptions were,
Yeah.
but he was our sponsor child looked like he was doing good. The family said that he was taken to treatment very well. He's in the deepest stages of chemotherapy, which is good because I believe that means he's on his way out. He's on at least on the uphill side.
Yeah. That's great.
Um, we were able to spend about an hour and a half with the family, so that was good. But yeah, Relentless just raises money for the Hope Kids Foundation. Our family was staying at the Ronald McDonald House, so that's where we went and met him at. This year, they raised, I believe, it was a little over $55,000. Lindsay and I both made our fundraiser goals, so that was a huge plus. Uh, for me, I ended up making it the morning of the meet, whereas she made hers the day before. We were kind of worried that we weren't going to make it, but our friends ended up coming through for us, so that was good. All in total, I want to say Relentless made 2.8 million
Oh wow,
um, over the last 13 years that it's been around.
that's awesome.
Um, I had a good probably hour and a half or at least an hour conversation with Scott Nutter. Scott's the one that founded Relentless, and this is the first year that he passed it on to Jarvis. Um, so yeah, Jarvis and Danielle, they did a fantastic job running the meet. We brought a deadlift jack over for them. Um, so yeah, it's great. I don't really have anything bad to say about it.
Yeah, and as far as like the meat itself, obviously it's kind of like a different energy. Obviously, it has a lot more meaning to it than just like a pro meetup. That someone's there to just win some money. It's obviously there's a lot behind it and some charity. So the meat experience itself, you said it was a very well run meet, but what are some of the other things that make the meat so great?
Um, I mean, the big pull for Relentless, one of the big things that makes it unique is they try to bring in some of these kids who are a part of the Hope Kids Foundation. They give them a front row seat and they just line, not the platform, but they're 4, 5, 6 feet away from the platform.
Yeah,
They're all sitting right there watching you lift. In in some I don't remember if I trimmed it out or not. I usually try to get just the lift whenever I post something. I don't like all the people don't need to watch the 45 seconds of me walking up to the bar.
yeah,
Um, but while I was walking up to the bar, I don't know if it's in the video or not, but there were a bunch of the kids were like cheering my name, so that was kind of cool. But they did that with most of the lifters though too. The kids are there. The kids are very much involved. For them, it's cool watching people pick up 400 or 500 pounds. It's fascinating for them,
yeah.
and for us, it's cool just getting involved. Getting involved to go support that.
Yeah, and I'm sure it's much more like rewarding than like obviously we have our own personal goals and like at the end of the day, like powerlifting like is we're in it for us. Like everyone has their own why, but like we obviously have our own goals and stuff. But in terms of being able to like do that for kids that are going through some things like that, I think it's just got to be such a rewarding feeling.
It is a very rewarding feeling. It really is. I do know after COVID, it's been kind of a struggle to get things back up to where it used to be. If you look at Relentless back when it was first starting, and I'd be getting the years off, but I know that it was like in full bloom 2014, 15, 16, that time frame.
Hmm.
You look at it then, post COVID, we had all the compliance, we had all the guidelines that we had to follow.
Yeah,
Well, for a couple of years, they weren't having kids there.
that makes sense.
Yeah, they weren't having the kids there. I want to say last, and don't quote me on this, I could be wrong, but I want to say last year was like the first year that they brought the kids back, unless it was the year before. They had the kids this year, um, but it's not like it's a full, it's not like it's the full stadium, or it's not like it's a stadium.
Yeah.
Um, we probably had about 30 or 40 kids there, but yeah, I do know that's been difficult to try to meet those guidelines after everybody's more conscious after COVID,
Yeah, for
especially
sure.
with an immunosuppressant population.
Yeah, exactly. But I think just overall, like I think um the direction of powerlifting, I think we need to see more things like that of like not necessarily just community involvement with our own community, but kind of bringing in that outside community and having like more purpose in powerlifting rather than kind of maybe some selfish goals, I guess you could say.
I do not disagree. If we can take this is yeah, absolutely on the community side. If we can take what we're good at, what we're familiar with, and then we can bring in somebody else who has something that we support and we can find a way to meet in the middle, absolutely. That's how you build a community. You take your resources and their resources and combine them. Relentless found a way to do it. I'm not going to go on the tangent, but like I talk to small businesses quite frequently about doing that. If you have a business, find somebody else who has a business and find a way to make your businesses melt.
Yep.
And now you have a partnership. And now you can promote the revenue or the ROI. Just find people that you get along with and partner with them.
Hmm.
Build a community.
Yeah, and it's quite simple and often overlooked, but I think we can kind of wrap things up here. So I'll ask you my final question. If you could give a new powerlifter or someone going into their first meet a word of advice, what would you tell them?
If I could give them a word of advice. I mean, the big one that really helped me out, I guess the big thing that brought me up to the point to where I'm at is just learning how to be self-sufficient. If you don't need somebody else to take care of your knee wraps, if you can walk into a meet and just say, "This is what I need to do. This is where weigh-ins are at. This is the time that the meet's going to start. This is when I should be warming up." As long as you're self-sufficient and have that stable mindset, you can do a meet. Like you can show up and do a raw meet by yourself. You can wrap your own knees. It might be better to have other people, but it's not necessary. It's not a necessity.
Hmm.
Um, and you can't always assume that somebody else is going to know you as well as you know yourself. Um, a great example of this is in 2013, I did IPF Worlds, and we were assigned a coach. I'd never really used a coach. I never had anybody to wrap my knees. And Team USA said, nope, you have a coach. This is who you have. They will be handling you. They will be wrapping your knees. They will do your equipment. And I pushed back. I told them, no, I do not want that. I want to go out there by myself. I want to, at a bare minimum, I want to wrap my own knees. And they said, just let us wrap you on your opener. Well, I missed my opener. And admittedly, I probably could have been a little bit nicer, but I went up to that coach and said, respectfully or not, I said, I will be wrapping my knees on the second attempt. And I made it on my second attempt. I missed my third, but I made my second attempt. I didn't bomb out of the meet. I personally, I've always felt weird with other people wrapping my knees. I have never been able to make it work. But that's just one of those things about growing up being self-sufficient in the sport. Um, like I don't get the same people to lift off for me every single time. I don't have the ability to pay for 6 different people to get a plane ticket and a hotel room and their food to come travel with me to meets. So I'll oftentimes I'll show up to a meet just by myself or me and my girlfriend, and the people who are lifting off for me are the platform crew. But I get different people to lift off from me every training session, and I do the best that I can to coach them through how to do a 3-man lift. But I do the same thing on the platform too. It's going to be different people. I'm not used to training with them, so it just kind of works.
Yeah, and I guess my way of saying it is like I kind of always like to be able to be like, hey, what's the let me think how I word this. What's the best way I can perform with having the worst situation possible? And if you can
Hmm.
do that, then when you have that right situation, when you have that favorite knee wrapper, when you have that favorite handoff guy, like that's when you take advantage of it rather than relying on it.
It's just that much better. It's a perk as opposed to a necessity.
Exactly.
Um, now all of that being said, safety is still number one. So still put your safeties up. The bench that I have here at home is a 4-poster bench, so there is a safety rack built into the bench press. There's a spotter platform. Just the hardware on the bench that we have is 42 pounds. Like it is a heavy duty overbuilt bench, 3 by 3 11 gauge steel. Like it's not breaking, and it's a bench, so it's very short. It's not very long. Um, it can hold a lot of weight on those safeties, and those bars aren't going to bend. They're not very long. So 100% just learn how to learn how to take care of yourself, and then if you have other people there, it's a perk, not a necessity.
Yeah, I agree. Well, I wanted to thank you again for taking the time to come on. It was my pleasure.
No, thank you very much. The pleasure's all mine. Thank you very much for inviting me, and I greatly look forward to seeing what the sport of powerlifting evolves into, and you as well. What you're doing great with your training.
Thank you.